All right, everyone. Welcome back to Basscast Radio. I am your host, Brian Carter. And as always, Hank the Bass Geek. What's up, brother?
What's going on, Brian from Basscast? How are you tonight?
Man, I'm still recovering. Let's just say that much. And the thing about it is, I really don't do a whole lot, but it is a wide open event, the whole Big Bass Tour. And really appreciate all you guys, the kind words we received afterwards. And, it's pretty cool. A lot of, great interview. But when you got someone great to interview, it always helps out. You know what I'm saying? When there's a chemistry there between both people, and the dude is excited as crap. On top of that, it's always better. Instead of, sometimes when I do interviews, people look down at their feet and forget what they were using that day and forget where they were and which lake they were on.
Well, that's probably because, they've hit the dispensary most of the time.
Yeah. No, I mean, I understand they don't want to spill the beans because, 90% of the anglers that fish Smith Mountain Lake here that I interview time and many times again have fished Smith. That's pretty much all they do is hit that body of water. I mean, they'll, journey out a couple times, but for the most part, they pretty much stay close to home. It's plenty of water here.
We both know that 90% of the bass on Smith Mountain is caught by Carolina rig buzzbait. I mean, that's what the guys are doing. They try to keep it secret.
Yeah. And a little, it was I talked to a lot of the guys as they were coming up, and it was a lot of jigs thrown up underneath docks and all that good stuff as well. So I mean, it's it's that time of the year, and
it's definitely that time of the year.
And a lot of guys are chasing the bait fish. So I mean, early in the morning, bait fish, big swim baits. I mean,
man, I tell you. Speaking of, I'm telling you, I know, guys, there's a love-hate relationship for forward-facing sonar, but holy cow, have I learned a lot this year.
Wow.
And because of my forward-facing sonar.
That's so awesome.
I started in July on a lake that I'd never fished before, and I have followed these same schools for 5 miles as they have migrated.
That is so cool.
It has been a learning experience.
So that's going to be a Bass Geek video coming really, really soon.
You know it is.
Guys and gals who are listening to Basscast Radio and are following us on Twitter as well as our Instagram group, thank you so much. Before the first cast, I posted one of those on Monday. I have another one to post the following Monday. And, guys, holy cow. It's already blown up in 2 days. And we have 30 new people following us on Basscast Radio.
Heck yeah.
And that's just in 2 days. Since I posted that video Monday morning. Yeah, Monday, Tuesday, 3 days. But I mean, thank you guys for following us on there. Really, really appreciate that. Like I said, the latest episode of Before the First Cast is up. Fall Mysteries of Smith Mountain Lake with our boy Chad Green, who puts out our lake report. So really appreciate him coming on. That was one of the cool things too about the Big Bass Tour. A lot of I was able to grab guys and talk to them and interview them right there. And that was cool because I mean, I understand a lot of people after tournaments, they're ready to go. They don't want to talk to me anymore. They've already seen my face enough and they're ready to head home to their family.
Well, I know that's normally how I am after a tournament, but it's only because I've only caught like 2 or 3 fish most of the time.
So so I really appreciate you guys all following us there. Bass Geek, what's new with you real quick, man?
Man, we dropped a new video today. Of course, we've dropped a couple this past week.
I saw that
one is talking about topwater success, and if you guys don't know, man, I catch them on topwater. It is, I say all the time, if there's 2 things that I'm really good at, and I never say I'm a master of anything, but if I'm getting close, it's soft plastic swim baits and topwater baits. And, I've been known to catch them in clear water lakes at 1 o'clock on the hottest day, over 120 feet on a walking bait in the
Wow.
middle of summer. And this video kind of spills some of that information. And then today, or well, for you guys listening, yesterday's video got a really interesting bait that has almost replaced a spinner bait and a buzz bait for me. Or
Yeah.
not a
If
spinner
the
bait and a
title
buzz
is
bait,
why are
but
you the why are you
yeah,
doing this?
yeah, spinner bait and a underspin. I mean, sorry, I got a buzz bait on my mind. Top water. You see
Yeah,
where I'm
yeah.
at? But yeah, you guys should go check those out.
All right, so head on over, give it a check. Make sure you watch it. If you are not following Geek, as always, please hit the follow button and the subscribe button, as always. That way, hit the bell. That way, you get the notification every time Geek pops up a brand new video. So we're kind of rolling through this because we only have about 45 minutes with our guest tonight. It's Bassmaster Open winner, Lake of the Ozarks, Mr. Kyle Patric is with us tonight. Kyle Patric, what is up? How are you feeling, man, after the big win on Lake of the Ozarks, my brother?
Pretty good. I mean, it's a crazy experience. It's almost like it's pretty surreal. I've been every time I walk in, first of all, I'll start with, I this is my second year fishing all 9 opens. I scrounged together what I could last year to afford to do it. And luckily I cashed, a solid amount of checks to where I was like, okay, I was close. I had one bad tournament at the Red River that cost me the going to the elites. And I was like, you know what? I was close enough. Let's just go all in one more time. And you know, getting that win is like so crucial career wise, but also financially, it is like massive.
Oh, yeah.
It affords you the ability to feel, like, okay, like maybe I can do this again if I don't make it the Harris chain or, sponsorships. And it's just all of that feeling all at one moment when you're on stage holding the trophy. Like I was at a loss for words. Just a
That's
crazy,
awesome.
it's a crazy thing,
Guys, if you haven't had a chance to go to Bassmaster, go to the Bassmaster Opens page, and Kyle wrote a story on there. And I'm going to borrow that photo, by the way. But yeah, Kyle wrote a story in there about the emotions, and head over there and check it out. Kyle, for anybody who don't know who you are, man, let's get a little, especially, we don't, be honest, I know nothing about you besides what we saw you won. Let's get a little history here, man.
Yeah, man. So I grew up fishing in upstate New York, right? Like that's sort of one of those areas that I think, other than the St. Lawrence and maybe Cayuga, kind of falls under the radar in the bass fishing community, right? It's sort of like Minnesota in the sense that, like, there's a few lakes that a lot of guys know of, like maybe one or two, like the locks or whatever it may be, in that region. But like, there's so many fisheries, so much diversity. Like it's an incredible area to grow up and fish. And, you've seen a couple really, a couple guys kind of emerge from that area in the Finger Lakes, like, Casey Smith made it to the Classic last year. Yeah. Jamie Hartman, a couple guys, and forgive me to all the people listening if I'm forgetting names, but those are the two that just come to my head. And, I think that we're getting there. Like New York's getting there with their tournaments, and like it's not even close to the South, right? Like we don't have all the tournament circuits and like the history with bass fishing that you guys do, but we have a great community of guys, small clubs, and Bass Nation. I didn't do much Bass Nation, but we have all that, right?
Right.
And I joined a club when I was like 13, I think. And I fished in the back of a boat for, I fished in buddies' boats, older guys like, my buddy Jim O'Brien was an older guy in the club, 50 years old. And I was like 14. And at first it was like, my parents were like, what are you doing? Like, cause they don't know bass fishing. Right.
Yeah.
And fishing kind of like defies age gaps. It defies everything.
Oh yeah.
We're all
100%.
You know what I mean? We're all just kind of like so passionate about the sport that it really doesn't matter. And so that's how I started. Like, I just got in with a club, Susquehanna Bass Association. They kind of took me in, taught me, you know, the basics, like, you know, things that I didn't know. And then I fished my first tournament. It was a community tournament. I fished it out of a canoe. I jerry rigged this canoe.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was allowed because it was just like a community, like anyone could
Yeah.
join, right?
Yeah.
And I put a cooler that I like built a live well system in the middle, and like just went and fished this tournament. And it was exhilarating. Like I was like, this is what I want to do. Like I'm gonna commit everything I have to become as good as I possibly can get at bass fishing. And, you know, it started out after that, I saved up, and, you know, I was fortunate to have, you know, my parents help me a little bit with that. They basically like I saved up, I think like $6,000, and they put $6,000 in, and I bought this like tiny little bass tracker, you know,
That's awesome though.
like the tiny one, you know what I mean? Like I think the 40 horsepower or something.
Yeah.
And that's sort of where it started. I when I was 16, the first time I got my learner's permit, I probably did some illegal things as far as driving. It was without like an adult in the car. But I drove all around as many lakes as I could in upstate New York. I didn't want to just be on the lakes around me, which is, I'm from Cooperstown, New York. So there's Otsego Lake right there. There's Canandaigua Lake. I didn't want to fish those. I wanted to fish new water. Like that's all I cared about was I want to see new water.
That's
I want
awesome.
to do new techniques. I want to like learn as much as I can. And that's sort of where it started. Just doing that stuff. And I progressed up. I never actually fished them. I didn't really fish BFLs. Didn't really, you know, when I was ready, I was fortunate.
Right in, boys and girls.
Yeah, like it was kind of wild. I got fortunate. I went to college for 4 years I played soccer in college. I got a scholarship to play soccer, and I was debating doing the bass fishing thing. And then I was like, you know what? I'll do I'll play soccer. I'll focus a lot on learning about bass fishing in college rather than actually fishing, right? Like I did tons of research, you know, because soccer was, I'm not going to say it was a back burner, but it pretty much was to fishing, right? Like whenever I was on the field, I would like, you know, think about fishing even. Like it was like,
that's so cool.
You know,
hey, just over those stands, there's a little pond.
Yeah, exactly, like that type of stuff. And
that's hilarious.
It was a good decision because through college, I was, you know, met this guy who mentored me. His name's Paul Pagnato, and he introduced me to like, you know, Gerald Swindle, John Cruz, Pete Robbins, like all these guys that now are, you know, friends and mentors. And that was sort of my kickstart. They were like, you should do the opens. Like, you know, I think, you know, you may not be ready. I signed up for the Centrals. I did all the in 2021, I marshaled all the Elite Series events. And this was paid for by the guy I met, which was very fortunate.
Wow.
Oh yeah. He did co-angler events. I marshaled all the elites, and I fished out of my own pocket. I signed up for 3 Central Opens. And the reason I wanted to do the Centrals was because I had no experience, 0.
Right.
So I went in confident, but I knew like, I'm probably going to get, you know, smoked out there. Like, but which is a good thing for me, right? Because I had a lot of success in New York, like a lot at that time. So that's where it all started. Like, I had a big jump from like local fishing in New York to boom, co-angler and 1 division as a pro or boater. And then after that, I had a 160 finish at Pickwick. Then I had like a 120 in Florida or Lewis Smith. And then I went to Grand Lake where the Classic's going, and I had a 60. And I only weighed 4 fish on day 2. So I was like, all right, I'm getting better. Like because you have to kind of learn how to fish the opens, right? So I was just getting better. And
the opens, you know, it's 200 anglers you're competing against.
Yeah. And they're
200 plus.
Yeah, 200 plus.
Yeah. And they're really, really good. Like you'll learn, like if anyone's out there trying to think about jumping the opens, I think 100% you should. Especially because you'll learn how good people are at fishing, like very quickly. Like when you think it's tough, people are going to whack them like every time. And that learning process was very quick for me, which I'm thankful for. But yeah, that's just how it happened. A little backstory. Sorry to take up like a ton of time
No,
talking
that's
there.
cool. No, that's
No,
great.
you're right. It's something I always say is, it doesn't matter. You're out there, you're on the water, and you got to take this in the right way. For the longest time, I'd always think this way, and it would kind of, down my spirits. But somebody is catching them out there.
Yeah.
You just have to figure out how to catch them too.
Yeah, 100%. And like it's a wild thing. Like there are so many good fishermen, so
yeah.
many different techniques, so many different ways to catch them, and you just got to learn it all. And it's a
Yeah.
process. Like people think, a lot of people have this false understanding of what it takes to do what a lot of guys are doing, what I'm doing. It is very hard. Like it's financially hard. It's financially difficult. It's extremely mentally draining, away from home constantly. Like you have to have all your ducks in a row. Like you can't be unorganized. You have to do podcasts, talk with sponsors. You have to please a lot of people while traveling. Like there's so many things, and the travel's brutal by yourself constantly. Like all these little things stack up, and that's why it's 60% a mental game, because there's so much involved pressure. Like this Harris Chain event, my whole career is arguably riding on this Harris Chain event, because mathematically I need to finish. If everything went perfect for everyone else in the field, I would need to finish 46th to make it. Like that's a lot of pressure. That's a hard thing to do.
It's a lot of pressure.
It's a hard thing to do, and that pressure's there even in the first event. The first event's just as important as the last, and like it's a really hard game. It really is.
Let's dive into that mindset thing. I'm glad you brought it up, because that's what we kind of really want to talk about, man. Let's dive into that. Kyle, look back at your not each event, but the last couple of seasons, like you said, you fished the opens, and there's been a pattern for Kyle. Kyle either does really, really bad, or he does middle of the road. And it looks like, in 2023, things started to come around a little bit, a little bit to a lot more, to the ultimate win that you got this past weekend.
Yeah.
What do you think kind of, helped you kick off 2023? What, going into the season to get that mind right?
Yeah.
Get the ultimate.
That's a good question. Like I had some rough finishes in 2021. I only did 3, but that was brand new. And that was just learning how to fish against a big field on a very pressured fisheries. That was totally foreign to me. Like I had fished in New York for fish that just are hungry all the time, because we don't have open season. Like it is, if you don't come in with 20 plus pounds in New York every tournament, you almost don't even think about catching a check. That's what it's like there.
Yep.
And so, and that's largemouth or smallmouth. And in smallmouth, if you don't catch on the St. Lawrence, like you're not going to win with anything under 23.
And we all saw that, we had 4 century belts the last Bassmaster Elite event.
Right. And so that mindset was 2021. That really changed it for me. Okay, now I figured out how I can break down these fisheries. 2022, fished all 9, had a rough finish in Florida. That I've had good finishes, I've had bad finishes in Florida, but Florida is really tricky. They're super temperamental. That'll never change. But I think 2022, I had a lot of like 25 pluses. I had I think 4 25 plus finishes mixed in with a top 10 in there. And then I had 2 really rough ones, Florida and the Red River. And then the rest were like 40s, 41, checks. And that was me overcoming the pressure, like the mental side of the game. That's where I learned, okay, like I'm jacked up about the sport. I'm jacked up to put even a fish in my live well on tournament day. But like you almost can't be jacked up as I was, because of, it throws you off like the ultimate goal, which is either winning or doing really well in the event. Like I would find myself getting too wound up in events to do well, like as well as I wanted, I guess, and like minimize the bad finishes. You know how it is. Like when you spin out in a tournament, if you can just
Yep.
mentally make the switch and say, all right, I'm good. Like I just need to slow down, or I just need to cover water, whatever you need to do. You need to have that switch faster than a lot of guys do, because then they spin out and they spiral all the way down. And that's what happened to me at the Red River. It's what happened to me at Florida. And honestly, I slipped up at the St. Lawrence. It happened to me on day 2 at the St. Lawrence. But like minimizing that, being this year, it's just been like it's a mental battle for me this year. And I think I've overcome a lot of the things that I was struggling with in 2022. And that's sort of what's gotten me, some really solid finishes and to be higher up on the leaderboard.
What helped you stay grounded, man?
Just like honestly, like just taking deep breaths out there, like, and not thinking about, what does it take to get a check? Like you can't start.
Yeah, it's either you're fishing or you're cashing checks. And we've actually brought that up with many different people. And we get into like, I need a check. I need to make X so I can go to X. And make X amount of dollars to be able to get to the next event, or whatever it is. And once you kind of put that aspect of it and just say, I want to concentrate on what I know how to do it, and put it all together, the check will come.
Right. Yeah. I think like that's one thing that a lot of guys, I think, get too bogged down in, and it's easy to, because it's such an expensive sport. And there are a lot of guys out there that, I mean, including myself, that rely on winnings to a certain extent to get through the season. Like if I didn't cash, what is it, 7, 8, I think 7 checks this year I've made, including the win. It would be a lot more challenging to do this without making some money. Like, don't get me wrong, I have really great sponsors. And that's frankly a big reason why I can do it. But the check, I think a lot of guys think about checks or think about the money aspect and get stressed, family, whatever it is. And that's what leads to them ultimately not doing as well as they could.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, I know, I don't know what happened to me this year, but going into Dale Hollow, I had just knew I was going to have a good tournament, and one thing led to another, and I just did not recover on a lake I should have really been super competitive in.
Yeah. No, I mean, that stuff happens. It's just like one of those like evils that's just about the sport. Like it happens to the best. Period.
Oh,
yeah.
But I really let it spin me out in that tournament. And
it'll happen for sure. 100%.
Going into the final event, you brought up, you needed X amount of points to make, the elites.
Yeah.
And you need, a big check. What's some of the things that you kind of just to help leading up to that event that said, I'm just going to kind of relax, go fish my deal? Or, what's some of the techniques that you use to get your mind straight before you hit out on the water?
Like at Ozarks, you're saying, or in general?
Yeah, so like at the Ozarks.
Okay. Yeah. So like,
I mean, with a lot on the line, like you said, in 2022, you almost made it. In 2023, you want to make it a lot more.
Yeah.
The season was a really freaking good season, except for one event, maybe you had a bad finish, but other than that, you had a great season. So now it's all on the line.
Yeah, no, I think at Ozarks, it's funny. I knew my areas were good. I really did, but I didn't get a lot of bites in practice. Practice was kind of slower than I wanted. It's tough because, in practice, you don't want to stick too many. Obviously, everyone knows that. So there's a fine line between building confidence, sticking fish, and just shaking them off, not knowing if it's a 1-pounder or a 3-pounder or a 4-pounder. The small ones you can pretty much tell, but like you don't know the size for the most part. As you guys know, and as most of the listeners know, like, it's sort of a tough thing to figure out, okay, what areas are really, really good, because you don't want to lean on them too much. But that was the struggle I had, is I didn't know the potential of my areas. And Ozarks is a super patternable lake. So what I was able to do was catch a few fish, figure out, okay, I'm going to throw a jig, I'm going to fish brush and docks
Yeah.
and some rock mixed in, and then sort of just graph and look at water and see water and say, okay, I'll probably hit that, not really knowing. So every day I ran new water. Like day
Okay.
one, that 20-pound bag was new water. And I think it was just having the confidence, being confident about what I'm doing is the right thing to do. And that sort of alleviates the stress. Obviously, when you get out there and you don't have a fish for the first 40 minutes, you start to get, okay. But like,
Yeah.
as long as you have the confidence and know what you're doing is right, majority of the time you're going to get the right bites or at least catch enough to stay in it. Like, but you need to know that I'm in the right area, or you need to know that you're in the right area, and you need to know that you're, doing the right thing. And then it should fall into place for the most part. All you can control is making your flips or making your casts, as accurate as they can be. Controlling what you can control is really the only thing you can do. And so that's what I've sort of learned is just control what you can control out there, fish hard, don't get mentally spun out.
Right.
And, if it doesn't come together, it's not meant to be,
Yeah. You just got to focus on that cast. What's happening right then and there.
Exactly. Yep. Because if you're focused on the next cast or something else, then you won't fish it properly. And then you may miss a 4-pounder that's nosed
exactly.
up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everyone, we're talking to Kyle Patric, who just won a Bassmaster Open winner on the Lake of the Ozarks. Was there any time during that event that Kyle had to reset? I know you said new water every day. Was there something memorable about it, and how'd you overcome it, man?
Yeah. So like day one, I think, what did I have? I went to my first spot. I thought I was going to catch him in and didn't catch him in there at all. I went an hour and 45 minutes without a bite. I actually had one keeper. I had one keeper, and I was running back to what I called sort of my safe zone, which is a zone that every tournament I sort of have one where it's like, okay, I can come in here, I can fish around, I can catch 12 pounds, right? Like, depending on the lake, of course, like 12 pounds at Watts Bar was a stellar bag, but 12 pounds wasn't really much. But I knew if I cut 12 pounds a day, I wouldn't bomb, right? And so I was running back there, and I looked, and right across, like I was running down back to go basically lay up, and I pulled into a cove, sort of at the mouth of the cove, and I just was like, I got to give it a chance. Threw in there and caught a 5-pounder, and I was like, wow, okay. And then I literally just ran all new coves like that and ended up with 20 pounds. And I was doing the thing I was doing on the other, down the lake a bit, but I just moved areas and was confident in what I was doing. That was a turning point for sure, because I was tied for the lead after day one. Day two, I went back to the area where I caught him day one, and I didn't have a fish. I had 2 fish at like noon or like 1. And I ran back to the safe zone, what I thought was 12 pounds. And I pulled in, and I found a little hard spot out in the middle of this creek. There's like one little hard spot section that I'd found. I didn't even fish it. I just marked it. And I pulled in there, and I caught 15.5 pounds in like 45 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, holy smokes, that's going to be a good bag today. And was in second. And then day 3, man, I literally ran completely new water, except for the 2 brush piles I started in. I caught a 4.5 and a 4.5 in both those brush piles. And then I ran out and just ran new water. And it was that was it. It was.
But the new water you were running, were you still concentrating on those points?
Yeah, I was concentrating near the mouths of the creeks.
Okay.
Or not creeks, mouth, like the front section of like little inlets or little, I guess, drains, you can call them.
Yeah.
And I was looking for brush. I was looking for, a little bit deeper brush. I was looking for banks that weren't as sharp, but also weren't flat, sort of that in-between grade that kind of, tapers out into like 25 foot rather than sharp drop into 40 or something like that. It was just wild. It was just a crazy, everything just came together, and can't really ask for much more.
Was there a moment during the event that you actually said, I think I can win this thing?
Yeah, it was when I caught the 5. I had culled like a, so the size limit was 15 inches, and I culled, I had, except for spotted bass. So spotted bass were 12 inches. I had a 12-inch spotted bass that I caught, and I caught a 5. I had 2 4.5s, a 2, a 2, and that 12-inch spot. And I culled the 12-inch spot with a 5-pounder, and I was like, okay, this
that's
could
a
be the
sweet
deal.
call.
I was like, this could be this could be it. And then I fished down that stretch, didn't get a bite, or I got 1 bite. And then I went to the point, caught a 3-pounder and a 2-pounder, or 2.5. And I was like, oh, that's just, this has to be it. I had like 10 or how many? I had like 5 or 6 Toyota Series boats following me. So I knew, like, they had the tournament the next week. So I was like, like they're following me on Bass Track. And it was, that's when I was like, okay. And then when I went back towards the ramp with an hour left, Ronnie Moore, or who was either Ronnie Moore or someone said, like, what would it mean for you to make the classic? And when they asked me that, I was like, I think I might be in a good position.
Well,
yeah, it got me a little choked up.
Might be getting ready to win this tournament. Is what I think you're saying to me.
I know, and it got me a little choked up on the water, because that's just unreal. Like, I don't know how many people. It'd be interesting to know how many people ever have fished a classic. Like, if you compile all the names, because a lot of people, like, guys like, KVD, or like Brandon Polinick, or like all these anglers, they're fishing it over and over and over, right?
Yeah.
How many people in overall
total?
How many total? Yeah, not counting people that have
multiple
times.
How many individuals?
Yeah, I don't know the answer, but it can't.
I
be
know
a lot.
3 right here in Virginia, and
Yeah,
all 3 of them,
it cannot be.
Were like, they made it up through the Bass Nation rankings and all that good stuff to fish the champion, the Bassmaster Classic. Yeah, I was looking back at your season right here. I got it on the mobile phone, everybody. Sorry for the click a second ago. And 87th, 13th, 23rd, 37th, 11th, and then the 110th on the St. Lawrence River. And then you came back into, Watts Bar, had a 22nd place. And then, like I said, we all know, like at the Ozarks, you won it. After that 110th place finish, man, what did you do to kind of get yourself back? When we have I always say, if you have a bad finish here, we always go to the river, because we know we can catch a fish there. And man, we have a bad day. It's like, I just want to go catch a fish again.
If I have a bad day, I go to B-dubs, drink beer, and eat wings. That's
yeah. Like, the funny thing is,
so did Patrick sit down and have a big talk with him for himself for a little while?
Yeah, like the St. Lawrence was tough, because I was on really good fish. I just mentally wasn't there. Day 2 it was super windy, cloudy. I wasn't catching them the same way, and I spun out. And had I just stayed cool and calm, I think I could have caught another 18 pounds like I did on day 1. It wouldn't have been like the best bag ever, but 2 18-pound bags, it would have had me in like 56 or something like that. And I think, I first of all, I thought I was done. I thought I was out of it, because the guys in the opens, like you said, catch them like all over all the time. And the top 20, especially this year, have been so consistent.
Yeah.
I was like, shoot, like, I'll just do it next year. I'll put my head down and try to finish the season strong. And, I didn't really I felt like maybe I could come back and get in the swing of things. But what's funny though is, like, I didn't have, like, it's not like I didn't catch fish, right? Like, like you said, like, when you don't catch them, you go to the river. I caught 18 and like 13 and a half or 14, and that's a good bag anywhere else. So, like, I didn't think that I was like, doing anything wrong. I just knew that mentally I wasn't there, and I sort of just had to make the adjustment. I felt myself getting worked up in the tournament, and I knew that would be my slip up. But then all I did was I corrected the mental side of it, and it showed on day 2 of Watts Bar. Day 1, I had a good day. Day 2, I had 2 fish at like 1, and I just stuck to what I was doing. I went recycled back through my areas, caught a 2, then caught a 3, and like it's that mental side of the game that was the difference maker at the St. Lawrence. And that's what I corrected, was just, staying calm on the water. That's really what it came down to for me. Everyone has their, and that brings me, like, everyone has their weakness in fishing, like their main thing they're not good at. And for me, in 2021, it was the mental side, and it showed through a little bit at the St. Lawrence, but then I was able to just bounce back and recover.
That's awesome. Yeah, like I said, I mean, you have improved each and every year. I mean, even in 2022, on the Chesapeake Bay, you had a 9th place finish. And like I said earlier, I'm looking back at 2022. Besides Florida, I mean, you had an awesome Florida tripped you up. But other than that, you had a great season in 2022.
Yeah.
You just had that. You had them, I mean, look right here. There's a 55th, but other than that, it's 22nd, a 20th. I mean, check cash in person right here.
That's a pretty good average.
Pretty daggone good average. But when Patrick, when Kyle Patric bombed, it was a bomb. I mean, it was like this whole thing. And like I said, the mental aspect of it kind of got the best of you.
No, for sure. Last year at the Red River, it was a mental game, and I just blew it. But that, to be, what I always said after that tournament, I was really upset. But then I was like, I'm not ready for the elites. Like, if I can't, it's when it's your time, it's your time. I just wasn't ready, and I'm thankful that I didn't make it that year, because I think I would have struggled. Maybe not struggle. I don't know, but it wasn't meant to be and I'm happy that I have to fish this year in the Opens. And frankly, if I have to do it again next year, so be it. Like, it is what it is. This win is super crucial going into this last event, because I don't have financial pressure. I don't have, I don't really have, like, I felt like I've already proved myself this year.
Yeah.
Even if I finish 200th at the Harris Chain, yeah, sure. Will I be very upset? Absolutely. But if it happens, then I'm not ready for the elites.
But there's a lot to be said about fishing, being able to fish free, fishing free, without, a lot of that stuff in the back of your head is a huge deal.
It is. And that's why I'm so excited about the win. It's affording me.
You might have to still eat ramen. You might still have to sleep in the back of the truck.
Yes, I do.
People don't understand that. I mean,
I'm at my buddy's place right now. His name's Chris Kingery. He owns 44 Tackle, and I got a nice bed. This actually, this bed right here is what I sleep on in the back of my truck. It like folds over. Nice. It's pretty awesome. But yeah, no, that's the one thing that I have to remember, is like, try to be smart with the money. And the one thing I did was I got a hotel from Ozarks to Florida. I got a hotel in between, which I wouldn't have done had I not win. But I was like, oh, that's awesome. I can spend $180.
Nice.
Yeah, because everybody you got to remember, like he just said, $180 a hotel room. You stay in a state park for $35 a night, pretty much, or under that. If that, you can stay in that, and that other $150 is a whole lot of worms and crankbaits and jigs and anything else. Gas, and that's that's 90% of your other.
Sadly, it's not a whole lot of gas.
It's not a whole. That is true.
It's
some gas. Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. If you were to look back on 2023 and one moment that you said, this was your aha moment through some of the stuff that you learned in the past, fishing other bodies of water, like you were stating earlier, and said, it's my time.
Yeah. I mean, I probably won't have that feeling until I'm done with the Harris Chain, I can't really reflect on 2023 until.
Well, yeah, you got one more event left, but
but that's the thing. Like, that's all that meant, like, all I focus on when an event's over. Like, I pretty much, like, I'm ecstatic for the win. I'm ecstatic for the classic. But I cannot think about the classic. I can't think about the win. When I get through Harris Chain, if I can top 40 that event, then all the emotions will come out and I'll be able to
Yeah.
really look back. But
That's awesome.
as of now, man, I'm not going to say I'm not going to answer it, but like I think I can't really truthfully answer it until I'm done.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, it is next weekend, isn't it?
So this coming Saturday, practice starts, and
Yes.
then the
Next
event
week.
starts Thursday, Friday, and then championship Saturday.
So, like you said, guys, we all know we had Bobby Lane on last week. That's one right there. He's got to win pretty much to get into get into qualification. So it's a lot on the line for a whole lot of anglers going into this final event.
100%. It's
Because
wild.
because it's like I said, me and Geek said earlier, it's over 200 anglers based on the tournament. Some tournaments a little less, a little more, but it's about an average almost 200 boats.
Yeah,
And
no, it's.
and in each event, and that's co-angler and angler guys. So I mean, it's.
I don't think Bobby Lane has to win. You'd be surprised. I think so. He's got 1248.
I think he wants to. I think Bobby wants to fish the Bassmaster Classic, and that's what he wants to win. And that's
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, he also definitely wants to make the elites. He
Oh,
probably
yeah.
needs. He probably needs a top. If he gets a top 10, he will be very close to making the elites, if not
Yeah.
definitely make it. But obviously he wants to win, and he's got a good chance there, man. He knows that lake really well. I know he
Oh
does.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
in his backyard.
Yeah, yeah. So, but I'm not worried about what he does. If I finish second,
Yeah, exactly. You
That's
got no
awesome.
worries.
maybe I'll beat him. Maybe I'll win.
Hey,
Unlikely, but it's possible.
hey, anything, right?
Yeah,
You're out there. It just takes finding one sweet spot.
exactly. 100%.
Mind over matter, right there, man.
Yeah, 100%.
Hey, brother, man, Kyle, we appreciate you coming on. Thanks for talking to us tonight. Good luck. Like I said, Harris Chain final event of the 20. I keep forgetting there's one more event because they had back to back, and then they had a week off.
Yeah.
And then, the final event, because, we already got the 2024 schedule out for next year. We're going to be hitting Florida, South Carolina. That's going to be just the part that I'm looking at maybe covering next year. And, you came to my home waters this year, came down to Clarksville, Virginia.
Oh yeah.
Bugs Island, because that's an hour and a half from my house. So you were you were in my neighborhood. I spent all 4 days down there, so it's pretty freaking awesome. So
yeah. Heck yeah.
Enjoyed a little bit of Clarksville, Virginia, Kerr Lake fishing. Did you learn anything from that event, dude? I mean, that is one tough lake. I mean, it's like I've seen so many anglers come in on Clarksville and have like 25 pounds day one and barely get 10 on day two. I mean, it's a very unforgiving lake.
Yeah, I just fished offshore and stayed with a consistent bite, and then got a few good bites shallow. That's what I did. And I knew that I wasn't on the fish to win, but I knew that I was on top 25 fish, and I think I finished like 20.
Yeah, you were in the top. Let's see here. I can tell you here really freaking quick, everybody. 23.
Yeah.
23rd.
Yeah.
23. 23rd. So, I mean, you had a great finish.
Yeah, no, that was a good one. All of them are so important, and it's just staying with it. And yeah, that's all you can do. Focus on that event. That was a fun lake. I enjoyed that lake.
Is there one tip that you can leave someone, getting into the opens and, go ahead.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think two things. One, definitely give it a shot if you think you're ready, but don't try to do it if you're not, don't put yourself under so much financial pressure to do it that it affects your fishing. It's not worth that. Like, make sure you're there financially before you jump into it, because it can ruin a lot of people's, overall quality of life.
Yeah.
And I think, but that's like anything. I'm not deferring anyone from doing it. I think it's important. I think there's a lot of guys out there that can fish with the best, but maybe have some hesitations. I think the best thing you can do is go out there, maybe fish a couple events as a co-angler, Fish the Bass Nation. They have a new format coming out. That's going to be a big deal. Fish it as a boater, fish it as a co-angler, gauge yourself and understand, like, can I actually do this? Don't necessarily throw yourself in it if you're not ready. But yeah, I think that a lot of people can do it. And, making sure that you're financially able to is important, but also that you're, up to par with, the average guy in the EQ series.
So in other words, guys, if you're not at least winning a few events against your buddies around the house,
right,
don't even attempt to jump into this piranha fish tank, because you're gonna get eaten alive.
It's pretty crazy, man. There's a lot of people that, having cash checks in 10, 15, 20 events, like, it's a lot of money. You gotta have 50 grand. You gotta have 50 grand at the beginning of the year that you're comfortable just flushing down the toilet if it doesn't go right.
Yep. How does it feel? You're a young man yourself, but a lot of you young guys at the top this year.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a whole lot of young
what's
guys.
What's wild is I'm 26 and I'm the second oldest in the top 10.
That's wild. That
my
is
buddy
wild.
My buddy Jamie Bruce, he's the oldest in the top 10.
Yeah, we were actually looking at that with Bobby last week, and and that's what, when we talked to Bobby about that, he's a seasoned angler, been around for a very, very long time. And I didn't want to say, the young kids coming in and making it happen.
Yeah, no, it's pretty crazy. There's a lot of negativity around it, especially the younger guys, because there's a confusion with, how they can afford it and like who's their backing and all that. But really, in order to be in the top 10, you have to put so much work into it that it really doesn't matter like where the money's coming from.
Yeah,
like
that doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's just the light. Like, some people are born into different situations than others.
Yeah.
They can't control it. What they can control is becoming the best angler they can, working hard, and
Well, and I think what you get, and I'll be 50 next year. And I think what you get, and I don't mean to cast stones, but you get older guys that, they might have a little, we'll call it envy.
Yeah.
We'll call it what it is.
Yeah.
But you got to look at it, and it's it's what I said to Bobby. I said you got to look at it. These kids have more information.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I know. I've got getting ready to hit 73,000 subscribers on YouTube, man, and I'm a how-to channel. I've been fishing forever, and wished I would have had the information. You're already fishing, at even the high school level, so many different lakes, like you said, and then the college level is, it's you're basically fishing the opens. And so, those guys that are coming up and coming through that, they have the same experience on the water that I had by the time I was 30. Right. They if you look at it hour per hour. So of course these guys are going to do well.
Right.
I mean, you can't discount time on the water. No. And it doesn't matter if you're 3 or 303. Time on the water is the great equalizer.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, all right, we're going to let you roll because you got another show, but we really appreciate you coming on tonight, Kyle.
Yeah, thank you guys. It was great talking with you both, and nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you.
Anybody you would like to thank before you roll out tonight?
Yeah, just, all my sponsors are always great to me. Powerhouse Lithium, they have legitimately the best battery setup. And, I don't plug sponsors a ton, but like they legitimately, you got to check out their system. Go to powerhouselithium.com. They're fire. I can't speak highly about, like, that is a product that you need to have dialed in on your boat. And chattyboys.com, KNKcustoms.com, they sell them. They're great resources. Douglas rods, Redfin polarized. I don't want to name them all, but
yeah, I understand.
They're all great. They supported me for a long time, and can't thank them enough. My girlfriend and my family.
Cool, brother. Good luck in Florida. And we'll be wishing you the best of luck, man.
Thanks,
Yeah.
guys. Good talking with you.
All right, guys, really appreciate Mr. Kyle Patric coming on and talking with us tonight. What an interesting story. I mean, they open up. We don't even have to kick it into talking about the mindset and breaking down tournaments.
Yeah.
And going through the event and, events that lead up to it and the circumstances. Like I said, he had a bad finish 2 events before his win, and he got it done. Lay down, put it all on the line, and boom. And now he's going to be fishing the 2024 Bassmaster Classic. And I apologize, guys. I thought that was it for some reason. I don't know why it was my fault. But yeah, we got Harris Chain coming up next week. So, hey, to be honest, I'm excited. There's more fishing.
There you go.
We got some more fishing to be watching on TV. On top of next week, I'll be at Bugs Island for both days for the Angler's Choice Championship. This weekend, I think there's like a little Leesville tournament, maybe some little small pop-ups, but nothing on Smith Mountain Lake this week. Kind of need to give that lake a little bit of break since we had 1,200 anglers on it this past weekend.
Golly.
I mean, probably I ain't gonna say every fish because not everybody caught a fish, but
yeah,
a lot of fish are need to relax a little bit.
What do you think about the weather rolling in this weekend? You seen that?
I have not seen that.
I know Saturday night, the low of 37 here.
Oh, that temperature thing.
Yes.
Yes. It's going to get it all fired up.
It's going to get cold. Listen, I hate cold weather.
I do too.
I despise it.
I hate going outside in cold weather.
Look, I'm not going to lie. Like, I called the striker up today and it's like, all right, guys, it's time for me to, time for you guys to send me my insulated suit for the winter. I was like, it's time.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, send them gloves too. Send them gloves.
Yes. Send the heat, the little battery operated heat warming gloves there too.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know why. I'm just not I grew up at the beach. I ain't gonna lie. We've spent a lot of time at the beach, warm weather. And I don't know. I hate, I wasn't ever the type that wore shorts all year.
Oh, I am. Oh, yeah.
You do, Geek, and I know a couple other people do as well. But I just, hate going outside having to wear 5 layers of clothes to something that I love.
Oh my God.
But things have changed. I mean, the day of, people wearing the big ass Carhartt suits and all that stuff out there fishing, it weighs like 400 pounds.
Yeah.
And if you accidentally fall off the lake, you are guaranteed fall off.
You're sinking. You're dead.
Sinking, like you're guaranteed to not make it. I hate to say it. Don't want to make it. I hate to say it because that thing weighed a ton.
Yeah, and once it took on water, you ain't gonna swim. Yeah,
like
then you got them big heavy boots on. So you ain't swimming out of that.
But the world has changed the bass fishing in the last 12, 13 years since I've done it. And the suits, I mean, we even got, suits now that have life jackets built into them.
Yeah.
I mean, there has been so many, and it's just like racing. I ain't gonna get into racing, but the old Harns, after Dale died, that changed. And, we've had every winter or so, or even summer, we have 1 or 2 boat accidents.
Yeah.
So a lot's changed now, and you don't have to wear all that the 12 layers that you used to have and wear just to go out. I mean, maybe a pair of thermals, and you ain't got to really wear that anymore because this stuff cuts some daggone wind, and it's pretty daggone good. From the 100-mile-an-hour gear from Bass Pro Shop as they've upgraded throughout the years to Huck. I'm just gonna name that one, but a lot of the brands out there that have come out with some great gear, like the one you were speaking of earlier.
Striker. I love them because
the guys out of Canada, right?
They're up north. They're
north,
not quite out of Canada, but they're a big ice fishing company.
Yes. They sponsor John Cruz.
Yeah, they make some good stuff. I started working with them a couple years ago, so I really enjoy. And listen, even during the summer, I mean, what I love about them, and I reached out and begged to be on their staff, was that they make big boy stuff.
There you
go. All these other brands, I don't know what they think. All anglers. I told their marketing guy. I said, "Listen, you really want to prove you got some weatherproof stuff? Prove it on a fat boy. As a skinny boy, all you need is a baseball cap to stay dry." My big rear end got a lot of surface area. They stuff puddling.
Dang. So if it works for the ice fisher men's and women, it's going to work for us down here. I can guarantee you that, because it does not get that cold down here. I mean, it gets cold, but we don't have, when it gets that cold, we all just done anyway. We just say we cancel. I mean, because we know the scales are going to freeze. We know the tables are going to freeze. Everything's going to freeze. So, I mean, but if it's good for them, it's good for us.
If it drops, if it's going to be a high of freezing, I'm staying home.
There you go. Well, guys, again, really appreciate you guys listening to this episode of Basscast Radio. Kyle Patric, go follow the journey for him the rest of this year. Like you said, one more event left. Really excited about that next weekend. I'll be watching fishing all next weekend, trying to keep up with everything, because we got that. And then the Basscast kicks off again on October the 21st, the fall half of it. Guys, don't forget, you have to fish 3 to qualify for our championship. I think, if I remember correctly, it is. And it is definitely the first weekend in December, because I like wrapping up in December before Christmas and before all the holidays and plays and performances and all the other stuff the kids do. And, you know, you got to make your wife happy, because she lets you go fishing the rest of the year. So you need to, you know, that time of the year, try to stay close to the house. I mean, I know you guys love getting out, and, you know, if you ain't got nobody close to the house, try to stay close to the house. Again, guys, thank you for all the new followers on Facebook. All 30 of you guys, all of you guys, period. I think, if I remember correctly, it's 1,300 people who are following us on that page. Thank you, guys. Give us your feedback. Give us your thoughts, whether you like the episode, what you like, what you don't like. We love hearing your feedback. Have a great night, everyone. Head on over and follow Bass Geek. Hit the bell as always. And we'll see you next week right here on Basscast Radio.